I want to encourage us to be mindful of language. I know everyone says it all the time. However, like really be mindful of language when we use the terms like stronger. That usually is an indicator of operating from a space of logic while another person's operating from a space of emotion, indicating that logic means one is more stronger, while one who's emotional is weaker. Versus thinking this person's actually more vulnerable and I'm less vulnerable, right? And not to like point fingers and like, well, you're this and you're that. No, but sometimes the case is some people are just less vulnerable, not that they're necessarily stronger. I think that vulnerability takes strength. And so in some cases, a person that expresses how they are feeling, but most importantly, are experiencing the emotion in front of you, that is a level of strength because I am experiencing this emotion with you that leaves me vulnerable and I'm being vulnerable. And that I don't know, I think that just takes so much strength, so much bravery, so much courage versus a person that's like I'm going to be the stronger person and be logical or whatever. No, you're deciding to suppress your emotions or compartmentalize it in the moment because it's uncomfortable or you don't want to add to it or add to the emotions, which is fine. Like all of this is fine, and then until it's not. One thing that I noticed is that sometimes when we frame stronger as in logical, you then invite the other person to also be that way as well because they don't want to be seen as weak and they don't, especially not by their partner. And I think that it kills the intimacy that can develop between two people. Does that make sense? And so if my partner is saying, well, I'm the stronger one and this person is so emotional, you're indicating that I'm the weaker person. And if I don't want to be seen as weak, it causes me to harden. And now I'm now compartmentalizing and I am now kind of mirroring what you're doing. But that tenderness and that beautiful um, ex- invitation to bond then disintegrates because now I feel like I can't have this moment with you. And then eventually I become a little resentful. And then when I become a little resentful, I become a little hard. And then my bite is a little, I'm a little sharp when I say certain things. And, working with couples and being able to see that happening in real time, it's like, wow, right? Like this person is saying this, you literally see the hardness that comes over the other person's face. And so when responding, it's very like clipped responses, very like, look, I can be logical too. I can, and it's like, yeah. And so then when that person becomes clipped and a little sharper than the other person, then is like, why are they acting this way to me? So then they become a little bit more like shielded and defensive. And now we just have two people operating from a space of defensiveness or operating from a space of emotional distance and allowing these other manager parts of them to manage each other and manage themselves versus your true self connecting and building intimacy with your partner because you feel safe and understanding that when I am showing you how I'm feeling and I am expressing the emotion I'm experiencing, I'm inviting you to come deeper. I'm inviting you into my vulnerable spaces. And if it does feel overwhelming, say that, and let's discuss it. If you're afraid to share things with me because you think it's going to add more to me and the stresses you think I'm going through, name that too, because maybe, just maybe by you sharing with me, it validates like, oh, we're both kind of experiencing this thing. Like, how do we experience it together? Not drown in it, not wallow in it, but how do we experience this together? How can this be an invitation for us to bond deeper? And then we can move forward on now that we've done this and we process, how do we responsibly and responsively move forward with some level of like solution versus being reactive right? Because reactivity is not always loud, it's sometimes like frozen, but being reactive and jumping to making a solution. And this is something that I'm learning for myself. Like, I don't realize I do that depending on the dynamic in which I'm in. Sometimes I'm in the dynamic where I am a little bit more aware of my emotions and I'm wanting to express it and share it. And then there's other times I'm not so aware of my emotions and I'm the one that wants to jump to solutions, right? It all depends on the dynamics in which I'm in. And so if I'm with someone who is avoidant or um, who hides behind logic, I'm going to be the one that's like, hello, there's emotions. Let's express them. Let's talk about them, right? But if I'm in a dynamic with a person that is very emotional and very aware of themselves, maybe to the point where sometimes it can be projected at me, then I, for the balance sake, then become the person that's more like, okay, so what's the solution? What's the solution? Versus saying, hey, you're experiencing a lot of emotions right now. And I just want to share that I'm experiencing emotions too. Is there enough space for me to also express? Because this is becoming overwhelming. Just, hearing what you have to say. Is there room for me to express as well? Can we have a conversation and be in this space together and then have a solution? Like, that's something that I'm learning to do versus being like, you're doing the most. What do you want the solution to be? And so I'm learning too, like how I show up in different dynamics. And I also am aware of how I want to show up and the dynamics that allows for me to do that. Right. Um, and so, yeah, I don't really have like a clear thing to share with like points and like, hi, I'm Jarena Jade Davis, and I am a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I wanted to share these points with you. I don't have that. My brain is tired. I actually literally just got off of a couple call, and I was like, oh, these are good tidbits to share after I kind of processed and then kind of was seeing what was coming up for me. And I was like, oh, I want to share this. And so this is me sharing this. And I hope it's helpful to some extent. If I wasn't clear, ask questions and clarifying questions, and I would be more than glad to expound on it. When? I don't know, but I will get to it. But with that, I just hope you all are well and take care.